JFD, just fair and direct.
Okay, hello and good morning everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Espresso with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 21st of October 2021. So welcome everyone. Welcome to this Thursday's morning session where we're going to have a very quick look at the markets, a few of the charts, basically the usual stuff. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, I'll give you a few seconds to read the rest, and we can continue. Okay, so now then, also just before we jump into the charts, as always, quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos, and of course our JFD Bank website and specifically our JFD research page, which we also update on a daily basis. So check us out here on jfdbank.com, and click on the research tab right there on the top. So now then, now I do have a bunch of instruments here to go through, but don't worry, I mean, I'm gonna stick around on any of them for too long, because basically just a quick update. I wanted to see where we are at with some of the instruments that we looked at recently, like the beginning of this week, last week as well. So, but let's start from the first one. So the Nikkei 225, you can see a wonderful test of this downside line. Kind of, I would say, because it's came very close to it. Well, actually, we can take it as a test because, I mean, just a few pips here, a few points here, but yeah, still good result. Now, if you remember, in the beginning of this week, and of course in the end of last week, I talked about this. If we pop above this barrier, the 28,581 territory, then yes, we'll go for some higher levels, but initially only aiming for this downside line because I want to see how it performs here. And well, I mean, this is exactly why I was concerned about it, because it got a hold up and the index reversed sharply to the downside today. As you can see, it lost already kind of everything what it gained from the start of this week. And it went into negative territory for the week. Now let's see how today's day is going to play out. Of course, we do have a bit of data coming out today. So of course, the initial jobless claims that are coming out today from the U.S. Maybe not a huge calendar here today, but yeah, nevertheless, there is still data. And of course, for those who do like to trade the Turkish lira, all eyes are on the interest rate decision. So yeah, let's see how that's going to play out. Now, coming back to Nikkei 225, yes, like I said, it drifted lower. However, this is my little neutral territory right now, because in order to consider maybe the downside, I would like to see a drop below this 28,581 territory, just to be a little bit more on the safe side. And of course, we did have this violation of this short-term tentative upside line taken from the low of the 6th of October. And but even though we got this violation, still, to be a little bit more on the safe side, I would prefer to wait for a drop below the 28,581 zone. And another thing here as well is that's also this is also a very good example of why I do sometimes look at the EMAs, because they sometimes do act as good areas of support and resistance. And this time you can see that the 100-day EMA did act as a nice area of support. So long story short, for now I'm taking a bit of a neutral stand on this one. However, if this one starts falling below the 28,581 zone, then yes, we could maybe consider a bit of a retracement to the downside here. Shanghai Composite, so also good push higher today. Excuse me, came closer to that 3,615 level that I kept on talking about, but failed to kind of reach it actually by just a few points here. I'm still keeping an eye on it because, again, that's the level that I'm watching in order to get a little bit more comfortable with the upside. For now, we're not really getting that. We're still kind of stuck here, and this is the reason, if you remember, I told you that I'm kind of, yes, I'm cautiously bullish, but the more comfortable level for me is this one, and you can see exactly why, because yes, it continues to grind slowly kind of higher above this upside support line taken from the low the 28th of July, but well, it's still struggling with that barrier, so that's the reason why. So yeah, guys, like I said, I'll continue monitoring this barrier. If we get that pop and we see the daily candle staying, the body of the daily candle staying above it, then yes, we could go for some higher levels. I can see in the chat room here, Erica, yep, good morning to you too. I hope I hope you and everybody else is having a wonderful start of Thursday. So, coming back to DAX, well, not coming back to, but jumping into DAX. Yep, Evo, good morning to you too. I can see you there as well. So yeah, DAX, yep, there we go. Got distracted a little bit. Erica and Evo, yep. So coming back to DAX, yeah, here we did get a bit of a retracement initially. I mean, you can see that initially when it opened with a little gap here to the downside. However, it still remained above this territory, above this downside line, above this 15,454 level. Then it pushed higher, closed the trading session in positive territory, fractionally. But nevertheless, still a good result here. However, we need to keep an eye on the cash index right now, because the cash index is currently sitting at around 15,465 territory. Again, below yesterday's close. This is what happened yesterday, basically. So yeah, we were also trading initially below the cash index in the morning. We were trading below the previous close. Today, we're again trading below the previous close. Now, I'm going to take a bit of a careful approach here, although I do see this one still as a positive. Because, I mean, looking at this, if we just evaluate this little short-term picture, I mean, this could be looking as a nice little bullish flag here. Maybe not an ideal one, because we don't have a really one stretch of a pole here, but let's say if we take this combination of three, it kind of formed this nice pole. Now we're seeing this little retracement here. Oh, and by the way, actually, I think the weekly candle will show this. Yep, there we go. So you have the previous weekly candle can act as that little pole. So either way, although this could be seen as a positive, still I would rather wait for a push above that 15,600 territory, somewhere around here, just to be a little bit more on the safe side. Because again, yesterday the U.S. equities, some of them reached the all-time high. So again, depending on how this is going to play out today, maybe if they're going to go for a little bit of a retracement, maybe they might drag the other cash equities here of the other indices. So be very careful with that. So again, like I said, although if we're just evaluating DAX on its own, then yes, it's looking quite positive. But if we're going to take into consideration other indices, especially the US ones, then, well, yeah, this is where the tricky bit might come in. So that's why I'm not going to rush into anything yet here. I'm just going to continue observing this one. If we do pop above this 15,600 level, then yes, I'll slowly start aiming higher. If we don't, I'll remain neutral here. But if we start falling somewhere below this little hurdle, this 15,454 zone, well, maybe, just maybe, we could see maybe a bit of a retracement. However, this is what I need to adjust here a little bit. Now, this downside line, no longer valid. Maybe we can draw this short-term tentative one. Yeah, so this short-term tentative upside line taken from the low of the 6th of October could be the one to watch. However, don't really focus on it too much, guys. I mean, for now, just yeah, let's stick to some of the levels. And one of the levels for the downside actually could be this one, the 15,000, around the 15,300 zone, because it's near the high of the 13th of October and near the low of the 14th of October. So very interesting area. Also, of course, we would get a break already of this upside line, and then yes, lower levels could be met. So long story short, for now, let's stick to this 15,300 zone. If we drop below it, then we could go for a bit of a downside. However, if somehow the index remains above this upside line, steep upside line, and then manages to pop above the 15,600 zone, then yes, I'll get a little bit more positive with the near-term outlook. Dow Jones Industrial Average, so all-time high, new all-time high. Yes, we managed to overcome the previous one. However, this is one of my favorite moments. It doesn't happen very often, but if you remember, I mentioned this already before. So basically, when we go for a new all-time high, but then at the end of the day, the index, for example, closes below the previous all-time high, this kind of gives you a bit of a kind of caution. It makes you be a little bit more cautious. I mean, looking at the cash index, for example, right now, we can see that the Dow is drifting a little bit lower. It's currently sitting at around 35,518 zone, so basically nicely below yesterday's close. Not to mention the all-time high, which is let me just which is near the 35,600 and let's call it 70. Yeah, so if we stay below this whole area right here, then well, maybe we could be seeing this one also as a nice little range, because if you remember, yesterday I talked about this and one of the indices, and they said that maybe we could be seeing here something of a range, which has been from around mid-July. But again, let's not rush into anything. Let's see how this is going to play out here. If we do pop above it today, above this barrier, above this, let's say, current all-time high, then yes, I mean, the sky's the limit for this one. We can continue aiming higher. Maybe even that 36,000 area could be an interesting one. However, let's not rush into anything, guys. I mean, we did have already quite a steep up move here, so maybe a bit of a retracement back down could be possible. However, to kind of maybe consider a bit of a larger retracement, I would rather maybe stick to this hurdle here, the 35,327 zone, in order to consider maybe a larger correction, yes, to the downside. So keep that in mind. Now, a quick update on the VIX. I mean, the volatility index, the so-called fear index. You can see that it kind of continues to slide lower. I mean, it doesn't seem much volatility here recently. But let's say, for example, if yesterday the volatility drifted lower, but some of the indices did push higher, some of the other instruments, cryptos, did push higher as well. So in general, the market did kind of move a lot, I would say, but it was more mainly in like one direction. So there wasn't really a huge battle there. So yeah, and of course, mostly buyers that dominated the field, and yeah, that's why kind of the VIX kind of did move a little bit lower, as it is classed as a fear indicator. So so mainly kind of tends to rise when market goes down under, if we can if I can express myself this way. But long story short, guys, I mean, you can see that on the VIX we are near this kind of near these lows now. Will it go higher? Of course, it's very tempting, but let's see. Again, it might stay here for a while. The indices could continue rallying, so that's why be very careful. DXY, dollar index, so it drifted below this upside line, yeah, so it kind of broke this upside line, stayed below it, and well, now to be honest, I'm looking at this as a bit of a more of a bearish indication. I'm going to take this level here, the current lowest point of this week, near the 93.50 zone. A nice good drop below this would confirm a forthcoming lower low and potentially could lead to a test of the 92.98 level here. For the upside, I mean, I need to see a pushback above this 21-day EMA at least, and then yeah, we could go for the upside. gold, very quickly on gold. So we're back in kind of in between these two lines. Silver is doing a little bit better, but I'll get to that. However, gold is trying to keep up. In order to go for some higher levels, well, we need to see a break of this downside line. And also, in addition to that, I would rather prefer to wait for a push above that psychological 1800 level. And this way, the commodity would confirm a forthcoming higher high and potentially could lead to a test of this 1834 level right here. But again, at this point in time, I'm kind of a little bit on the neutral side. I'm kind of just observing the price action here because I don't want to get caught out here on anything. Like, for example, here some of the traders probably could think that, you know, it's breaking this upside line, it's moving lower, it's kind of it was showing that it wants to move to the downside. However, as you can see, kind of teased all these sellers here and then reversed and took them out. And well, yeah, that's one of those moments that when you get kind of that, you know, caught out here. So always wait for a better signal. For me, sometimes that's the body of the daily candle. I mean, if it stays above or under a certain level, then this kind of increases the possibility of a further kind of directional move. But again, at this point here, yeah, on gold, although it's looking quite positive, I mean, kind of positive. However, again, some of the barriers here need to be overtaken first. Silver. Now, silver is quite attractive, or continues to be. You can see that it's pushing higher. It's trading above this upside support line taken from the low of the 30th of September. But of course, yeah, for now, I mean, if you missed this move, I mean, you can still kind of try and ride it. However, maybe wait for a little pullback and then maybe we could go for the upside. Basically, if you remember at the beginning of this week, I talked about this barrier here, the 23.585 zone. When I said that if we pop above it and stay above it, which we did, yep, this could open the door to its higher levels. And my next target is the 200-day EMA, which we kind of managed to reach already. So to be honest, I'll take that as a good hit, and I'll take that as an achievement and a good result. So what's next? Well, probably for me right now, I'm gonna just observe this one. I'm just gonna observe this one and just gonna see like what it wants to do next. I mean, because let's face it, I mean, silver is one of those that also kind of moves sideways. It doesn't have like huge kind of trending one-way direction like moves very often. I mean, it does, but yeah. So let's see if this 200-day EMA for now can provide a bit of resistance. If it can, maybe a bit of a setback here could be possible. WTI oil. So the 84.10 zone managed to reach that and kind of, well, almost again a few points away, but I'll take that. That was the low of the 5th of November, the lowest point of November of 2012, and that level acted as a nice area of resistance, and now we're seeing a bit of a retracement. Oh, and by the way, if you remember yesterday I was saying that this one might go a little bit lower, I mean, because it was looking a little bit more towards the downside. However, as always, guys, I always say wait for that confirmation, not only break but also close, because yesterday you can see it kind of drifted lower, it made a move, but then very quickly reversed back up. I'll get to some of the pairs that are kind of oil related as well, and yeah, we'll see that nice move as well. But basically, here now, I mean, what to expect next, because again, this one is just one-way traffic here. I mean, it continues to push higher. I would say if you want to look at some upside again, wait for a pop-up of that 84.10 zone. If we do that, then yes, we'll go slightly higher. We'll go slowly to the upside. For the downside, I would rather wait again for a drop below this 81.83 territory in order to consider the downside, but as I said before, I would like to see the daily candle, kind of the body of the daily candle, staying below this hurdle, and then yeah, we could go for that larger correction to the downside. Bitcoin, quick update. So new all-time high. new all-time high. So we pushed higher. Right now we are resting on that previous all-time high, so we overshot that. The level that we managed to reach, and let me just put this one on the chart. And by the way, I mean, if you remember last week, I mean, in the beginning of October, I also talked about Bitcoin, and I said that if we pop above this hurdle right here, this could open the door towards higher levels. We'll slowly start grinding higher, and well, yeah, we did that. We did move to the upside. We moved nicely higher. Now what, I mean, we've reached the previous all-time high. We created a new all-time high. What's next? Well, let's establish first of all the new all-time high, and that's roughly around that 66,958 level. If you want to go for the upside, again, I mean, you already know that, yes, wait for that push, because we do have a steep up move here, and if you want to aim for the upside, then probably, I do understand it's very tempting maybe to take advantage of this area here, and then maybe if it goes higher, yeah, it could move north here further. But given the steep up move, guys, I mean, of course, you know what comes up must come down. So I'm not saying that it will do that straight away, but again, this is where we need to kind of manage our approach carefully and manage the risk carefully. So be a little bit more on the safe side, guys. I mean, if this decides to retrace back down, starts testing this upside line, and then eventually breaks it, I mean, we could see maybe a bit of a retracement here, maybe even a move back towards that 21-day EMA. But at the moment, like I said, I'll keep an eye on the current all-time high right here, and if we do pop above that, then I'll go for the upside. Ethereum, also beautiful move. It managed to overcome the highest point of September, near the 4,027, but didn't really reach, like Bitcoin, didn't really reach the previous all-time high, which is roughly around that 4,380 zone. However, it's not the evening yet, so let's see how that's going to play out, guys. I mean, maybe this will continue, and maybe this will follow suit, and especially, let's say, even if it retraces back down but stays somewhere above the highest point of September, then yes, I'll continue targeting that current all-time high, and also we'll keep an eye on this little short-term steep short-term upside line, which in a way could be an interesting one to monitor, and it might help us later on. AUDJPY. So look at this crazy move. I mean, we've managed to reach the highest point of May and actually the highest point of this year. We managed to reach it, overcome it, create a new highest point of the year. And if you look at this, I mean, this is what I talked about yesterday. And when I draw this Fibonacci, I mean, I said that this is the level that I'm keeping an eye on. Roughly, we did kind of stay below it for the remaining of the day, because this is where I picked it up on in my morning video. We stayed above it. This morning we overshot that, so we can actually draw the Fibonacci this way now. And yeah, I would say keep your eyes on the Fibonacci, to be honest. Still, that's going to be quite interesting, because if we start dropping somewhere below, and let me just redraw some of the lines here. Let me recycle the. If we start dropping somewhere below this area here, the highest point of June, near the 85 point, let's call it 20, if we drop somewhere below this, then yes, of course, this could increase the chances for a test of that 23.6% retracement on the Fibonacci, and then we'll just have to take it from there, because maybe it'll hold here, maybe actually near this area which I've mentioned yesterday. So be very careful with that. AUDNZD. Oh, actually, I can see that the time right now. I need to rush through some of these instruments, guys. I mean, oh yeah, this is where a little bad time management from my side today. Anyway, AUDNZD, very important level here. I mean, you can see that this one I mentioned before. Basically, I said that if it drops somewhere below this 1.0496 level, then yes, I'll aim for this highlighted territory, which we managed to reach. Now the big question here is, are we not going to form somewhat of a head and shoulders pattern, where we maybe could see a nice little rebound from this area, maybe a push back up, and then another slide back down? So keep this idea in your head. Let's see if that's going to work out. But for now, keep your eyes, of course, on this 1.0418 level. Quick update on USDCAD. To be honest, yeah, so trying to find ground, but still struggling. However, this is quite interesting that this 1.2311 zone is somehow doing its job in providing support. Although, yes, we overshot those 2 times already, shot that 2 times already, but still, you can see the bodies of the daily candles. They're still struggling to kind of remain below it. So let's see if we're not, maybe we could get a bit of a retracement here. USDCAD chef, so this one continues to slide. I mean, this one's very negative for me, and to be honest, everything's in line with the rising wedge pattern. The pair that you need to keep an eye on for today, US dollar against the Turkish lira, that's going to be quite interesting, or should be quite interesting. So far, I mean, yesterday we saw this nice decline. It dropped back below this 9.2485 zone. Great news for the sellers, but today we're seeing a bit of a retracement. However, a slight positive, slight light in the end of the tunnel for the sellers here is that the pair is currently getting a hold up near this hurdle. This 9.2485 is acting as a good area of resistance. Let's see if it can hold. If it can, then yep, my next target is this upside support line taken from the low of the 7th of September. However, guys, again, due to the situation in Turkey, watch out. Everything might be unlogical and a bit maybe unpredictable as well. So probably if you do want to trade this one, then definitely have your stop loss in place. US dollar against Russian ruble. Now this one is quite interesting. So I just wanted to quickly pick up on this one because basically it worked out. The idea here that I mentioned that we could see a recovery. Then if we drop below the 71.55 level, my next target could be that 70.45 zone, which we managed to almost reach. But to be honest, again, I'll take that as a good result. Now let's see if we can get something like this again, similar basically story. Can we get a bit of a retracement? Well, let's see if that happens, guys. But yeah, guys, I mean, it could be quite interesting, as I said. For now, I'm kind of careful with this one, especially if, let's say, oil somehow retraces back down a little bit, then we could see this one pushing a little bit higher. Quick update on GBPUSD. So this is the one that I talked about, and we remember we discussed this one. Basically, what I said, we were talking about this line. So it got broken, but yeah, it's one of those tentative ones, and I'm also right now aiming for this other tentative downside line. Let's see if that's going to somehow hold. It could be just a temporary hold up here before another break here. So, but again, it pauses if it's moving higher, it still pauses near these levels, near these lines. Let's see if it can pause near this one right here, taken from the high of the 30th of July. Sorry guys that I'm rushing through my analysis a little bit here, but I'm trying to make way for my colleague. GBPNZD, beautiful test of this area. Congratulations to all who kind of jumped in here. I mean, if you managed to break below this, I mean, we managed to, what I was saying in the beginning of this week, basically that if we break this level, my next target is the lowest point of April, and yeah, we managed to reach that. Now maybe let's see if we can get a bit of a retracement back to the upside. EURGBP, so finally seeing some kind of positivity here for these sellers. Let me be clear on this one. However, as I mentioned to you yesterday, guys, still I would rather wait for a drop somewhere below this 132.43 or 70, roughly around this area. Basically, if it drops below this, yes, then I'll go for a larger correction to the downside. And finally, EURUSD, nothing much here, but yeah, it's just slowly grinding higher. To be honest, it's not really very exciting, but at the moment I'm kind of, let's say, as long as it's going to stay above this short-term tentative upside line, I'm going to aim for this medium-term tentative downside resistance line taken from the high of the 1st of June. So again, EURUSD is not that very exciting at the moment. So yeah, guys, thank you very much. Again, apologies for rushing through this a little bit. Yeah, I'll try to slow it down tomorrow. But yeah, thank you very much. Have a nice trading day, guys. Stay safe, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.